Okay, I'm officially calling this meeting to order at 6:30. I'm going to put a link in the chat for everybody who is attending on Zoom to please sign the attendance sheet. Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for coming to CEC 15's August 20th calendar and business meeting and possibly officer elections. We'll see if we get quorum later. We are coming to you from District 15's office at 131 Livingston Street. Anybody who is attending in person, please sign the attendance sheet at the back of the room. I would like to invite the interpreters to please introduce themselves. Let's start with the Spanish interpreter.
Español. Good evening, buenas noches, bienvenidos, bienvenidas para escuchar esta reunión en español. Por favor, marque desde su teléfono el número 347-966-4114 y marque el código de conferencia 921-498-073, símbolo numeral. Repito, la información para tener acceso a interpretación simultánea en español. Marque, por favor, desde su teléfono el número 347-966-4114 e ingrese el código de conferencia, el número PIN 921-498-073, símbolo numeral. Esta información será publicada y ha sido publicada y seguirá siendo publicada en el chat. Gracias. Thank you. I would like to make a comment if you guys can do something in order to avoid the feedback, because it's very hard for us, the interpreter team, to do the interpretation because the sound we are getting. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't actually hear what he was saying. He's saying he can't hear us very well.
There's feedback.
Yes, because there is a lot of feedback and echo. Also, the echo is hard. It's making, yes.
Is everybody muted?
All right, we'll look into it. I don't know why that would be.
Is everybody muted?
Is everybody muted? Does everybody have their, you have your volume all the way down?
Yeah. Everybody's
And you're muted.
I think that maybe because you are a little bit far away from the mic, that
From the
can
mic?
be the big issue. Yes.
Maybe I have to put the owl closer to,
That's never happened though.
that's never happened.
And it can't really go closer.
Because he's computer plugged in. I am on mute here and I have my sound all the way down here.
We tried to do that.
It's never been on before that.
Yeah, we that's because we tried.
Should we turn this? I don't think that this is.
Oh, you saying turn it off?
Turn it off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was hearing it, but I thought it was just, oh, that's not better.
Oh, really? How about now?
No way,
Did I turn it? I don't even know if I turned it off.
Do you hear a difference? Interpretation? No.
It's a little better, probably because you are in a room in person there, and there might be some background noise there too.
When the call comes back, I'll ask him.
You turn it on. Just turn it down.
I did it? Yeah, you got it on the same mode. It's good. My apologies, we'll try to figure out, what's going on. Let's move on to the Spanish. I'm sorry, the, Mandarin interpreter.
各位家长，晚上好。如果想要收听华语翻译的话，请拨打电话号码347-966-4114，并输入今天晚上的密码是1313681255。 2、1，然后按停止。如果想要收听华语翻译，同时留在这个 Zoom 会议室上，以便在电脑上收看会议，请把你电脑和电话都调到静音，然后在你的电话上输入会议专线。重复一遍电话号码347-966-4114，密码是136-812-521，然后按停止。谢谢。Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the Bangla interpreter.
Thank you. Good evening. The following message will be for the online audience. শুভ সন্ধ্যা। আপনারা যারা আজকের এই মিটিংটি বাংলায় শুনতে চান সেক্ষেত্রে আপনাদের ফোন থেকে ডায়াল করবেন 347-966-4114। আমি আবারও বলছি, আপনার ফোন থেকে ডায়াল করবেন 347-966-4114 এবং কনফারেন্স আইডিটি দিতে হবে 239-999-711#। কনফারেন্সটি হবে 239-999-711#। আপনার যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে আমাদের কাছে প্রশ্নটি করতে পারেন, এছাড়া চ্যাট বক্সে লিখতে পারেন। আপনাদের কোনো কথার প্রয়োজন না হলে অনুগ্রহ করে মিউট করে রাখবেন। ধন্যবাদ। থ্যাঙ্কস। বাংলা ইজ ডান।
Great, thank you so much. I'll try to speak louder, I guess. Maybe, is it better if I speak louder?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just speak. All right. So at this moment, we do not have a quorum of 7 people. We cannot hold the second part of our officer elections. At our meeting in July, we did manage to elect 2 officers, the president and the co-vice president 1. Then we lost quorum. And we were not able to continue. So we also don't have quorum tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask Nancy Cruz to call the roll for the calendar meeting. You're going into our calendar meeting. Yes. Councilmember Antonia Ferraro, present. Councilmember Leslie King, present. Councilmember Vanessa Gonzalez Roca, she's on her way. Councilmember Nancy Cruz, present. Councilmember Donaldo Chumney, present. Councilmember Nancy Randall, excused absent. Councilmember excused absent. Councilmember Janley Goodell. Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Tina Rogers, excused absence. That is it. So yes, we do not have it. Okay, let's move on to the introduction and the public comment protocol. He's gonna, Leslie's gonna read the introduction first, and then come to the public comment. It's, if you scroll down into the section.
Description of what's standing.
Yeah. Okay, you want to read it? Yes. You want to read the introduction.
So tonight's calendar meeting is in person and will include a public comment period.
Oh, no, the introduction to CEC 15. So you're looking at the annual meeting. Scroll down to the calendar meeting because we had to save all that. As you said. That's all right.
Okay. Introduction to CEC 15. I'm here. Thanks. Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you for coming to the District 15 Community Education Council tonight. We appreciate your time and are glad you could join us. For those of you who are new to CEC meetings, there are 32 CECs throughout the city, plus 4 citywide councils. Each CEC represents a community school district, and each is made up of 12 volunteer members, 10 of whom are elected by parents in the district. The remaining members are appointed by the Brooklyn Borough President and 2 high school student members. CEC 15 is a state-mandated public body responsible for ensuring that public school parents and the public have input in educational decisions that are made at the school district level. Our council reviews education policies and advocates for high quality education that benefits all our District 15 public elementary and middle school students. CEC 15 serves 36 elementary and middle schools and 1 high school under the oversight of our superintendent. CEC members serve in an advisory role on education matters to the district superintendent, the chancellor of the Department of Education, and to state and city elected officials. We approve school zoning lines submitted by the Department of Education. We evaluate our district superintendent. We review the district's educational programs, and we support school leadership teams. We also submit recommendations for the School Construction Authority's annual capital plan. And as of recent amendments to the law, CECs advise in the selection of parent coordinators. We actively seek input and feedback from the public and encourage you to visit our website, cecd15.org. Take a look at our Facebook page, connect with us on X, Twitter, and write to us about any issues you may want to address or learn about. Each school has a CEC liaison. All of our names and contact info are available on our website. Please remember to sign the petition. Right, great, thank you. Jonathan?
So tonight's calendar meeting is in person and will include a public comment period. We will take both remote and in-person comments to gather additional feedback from our families and school community members. You may leave your camera on, or for your own privacy, if you prefer, you may use audio only during the comment period and throughout the meeting. Rules of engagement. When you comment, please comment on the topic. Respect the privacy of others, and please do not include names of children or staff. Guests who make inappropriate comments will be removed from the meeting. During the public comment period, those attending virtually may raise their hand to comment or indicate in the chat that they would like to speak. Those called upon will be unmuted. If you are attending in person, you must sign the guest attendance sheet and indicate whether you would like to comment. Speakers will be called on one at a time and will be allowed 1 minute each for comment. We will hear as many speakers as the time allows. It is possible that not every comment and/or question will be given time. So the best way to get your question answered is always to write to the CEC at cec15@schools.nyc.gov. CEC members will also be given a comment period. Members will be called upon and are each permitted 1 2-minute comment and/or question. If members do not have a comment, they may cede their time to the chair.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna go right into our presentation for district. If you guys want to come sit up here with us. Shanice has, do you have their deck?
Yes, yes.
Where is it? Want to sit up there? Yeah. Do you need to see do you need to sit on my computer to see what she's sharing?
You
Or
can use my computer. And then she needs that control.
she's gonna move this one.
All right, and it's okay to talk this direction.
Yeah,
Okay.
that will pick you up. Speak loudly. I think speaking loudly is gonna be helpful.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. Just a quick introduction. I'm Tori Fenton. I'm the Director of Planning for Brooklyn from the Office of District Planning. And I am here with my colleague, Chris.
Chris Gurley, the Associate Director of Planning for Brooklyn North, along with Tori.
And our office, I think, as many of you know, we work closely with superintendents, with school communities and community education councils around the city to kind of create strategic plans for our schools and communities. If we go to page 2 of the deck, to give you a roadmap of what we'll be covering tonight, this is our annual data consultation. So each year around this time, our office comes out to meet with you all and to share an update on data for the district. So we'll give a little more context about our office, about the 2 chancellor's regulations that our office helps facilitate. And then we will dig into some district level data and of course have time for questions and any comments. So on the screen in front of you, you will see our district planning levers. So as I mentioned, our office partners with you all and the superintendents throughout the year to assess needs and priorities for a district. And we have a few different levers to help implement changes at the school building level. Those include rezonings and unzonings, which of course is under your purview as the CEC, as well as school mergers, so consolidating 2 schools together, opening new schools, bringing new programs, like ASD programs or early childhood programs to a district. We also have some school-specific changes like grade expansions or truncations, so changing the grade level that a school serves, moving schools or reciting them. Our office also works with the charter school office when there are requests from charters for new sightings in a district. And on an ongoing basis, we are planning for enrollment at all of our schools. So thinking about how many kindergarten or 6th grade or 9th grade seats a school is able to offer. If you go to page 5 in the deck, this is a recap of our annual process. So typically, kind of throughout the school year, but especially in the winter and spring, our office is compiling and analyzing data about a district at the school level and district level. We're having consultations and check-ins with superintendents and teams to think through district needs, to think through any areas where we need to learn more. And then right now we're in our district data consultations. So we have shared the full district data summary with you all. That is that longer 35-page document. And we've also met with Superintendent Alvarez to go through all of the data included there. Tonight, we're going to share kind of the highlight reel from the district data summary in the deck that you have. And then if there are needs or if there are specific levers that make sense for school or community, that leads us to either 1 or 2 processes that are mandated by the chancellor. Those are mandated processes A190 and A185. And kind of all throughout, we prioritize as best we can, engaging with communities and having a continuous feedback. Chris is going to share a recap of those mandated processes.
Thank you. So going to page 7. Chancellor's Regulation A190 governs the public review process for any proposal resulting in a significant change in school utilization. Significant changes include school grade level changes, co-locations of new or existing schools, school residings, and or school mergers. So basically, anytime one of these types of changes takes place, our office and superintendent's office and everyone, we have to follow this rule of Chancellor's Regulation A190. We can't just snap our fingers and make it happen. There's a very specific legal process that we must follow. So as a part of the regulation, for every significant change proposal, the DOE is required to publish an educational impact statement and, where applicable, a building utilization plan. A building utilization plan is used whenever a charter and a public school are co-located. So if there's no charter, then we're not doing that. We convene a joint public hearing with the CEC and affected school communities. We publish an analysis of public comment, and we arrange for the Panel for Educational Policy, or the PEP, to vote on the proposal. So 2 things to highlight before we move on. The PEP really does get the final say and the final vote on any of these proposals. Whether we all think it's a great idea or a terrible idea, it must go before the PEP, and their vote is the absolute final say. And then also, our office really considers this the minimum, beyond the requirements listed here. We really value community engagement, with CEC, with impacted school communities, SLTs. And so whenever there is a school where we are considering a proposal, We try to meet with them as much as they would like to meet, as much as they would like to have us. We're always available to discuss how any proposal may or may not impact their school.
And just to add, I think all of you are aware the one proposal that we did last cycle was the split siding of PS 321. They're in their main building, and we re-sided kindergarten and first grade into the new building on President Street. There are also a couple changes that are going to be implemented this September that did not require a proposal. So if we have a new building, like the building on State Street opening, where we do not have a typical co-location, we were able to open the new elementary school without doing a proposal. And then we also have a change that is phasing in from a proposal we did 2 cycles ago, and that's the opening of the new middle school that will be temporarily co-located as it faces in with PS 516. So those are the types of changes here, just to ground them in some of our recent work.
Thank you. So moving on to page 9, we'll talk about Chancellor's Regulation A185, and that's A185 is just for rezones. And so rezoning is a collaborative process where the geographic area of school zones are changed and or a new zones are created. That's governed by Chancellor's Regulation A185. Our office and the superintendent develop rezoning plans in partnership with the CEC and school communities. And then the CEC votes on rezoning proposals for the respective school, community school district. So just as PEPs get the final say on anything with A190, the CEC gets the final say on any rezonings. Any rezonings we have, we present them to you, and you all get the final vote of yes or no on the rezoning plan. So what can rezonings accomplish? Rezonings are an important lever for improving educational access and learning conditions. Rezonings can create a zone for a new school option, increase access to high quality schools, increase diversity in or across zones, alleviate overcrowding, and equalize or balance utilization across buildings. Oh,
We go to page now 11.
sorry.
We'll take it to the next portion of our time with you all, where we will look specifically at data for District 15.
So as Corey mentioned, we've shared with the CEC previously this District 15 data summary. We're now going to just pull out some key takeaways, but the data summary, there's copies at the front table we saw. It's a really rich document, so we encourage you all to look over this deeply whenever you have time. But just to start pulling out some of the highlights. So on the page here, we have information on the last 5 years of enrollment in District 15 schools at different levels. So looking at this table, all the way to the left, we see enrollment for the 2018-2019 school year. In total, there were 32,106 students in District 15 public schools that year. And then if we look all the way over to the right, the 2023 to 2024 column for our most recently concluded school year, there were 27,049 students at all levels. So over the last 5 years, District 15 has seen a 16% decline in total public school enrollment. But just going from the 2022-2023 school year to the 2023-24 school year, there was only a 2% decline in overall public school enrollment in District 15. And that pretty closely mirrors what we're seeing at a citywide level due to all the challenges, from the COVID-19 pandemic and everything. All of our districts, all of our schools did see a decline in the approximate 16% range. But then over the last year or two, we have really seen a leveling off and a stabilization of enrollment. And so we're thinking that luckily we're not going to, the downward trend is not going to continue. We really think the system is stable. And so just at the bottom of the page there, some of the takeaways, as I just mentioned, there's the last 5 years and the last 2 years. And also just want to highlight, while K-5 enrollment as a whole has declined by 22% over the past 5 years, enrollment in kindergarten has actually seen a slight increase from 2,356 students in the 22-23 school year to 2,386 students in the 23-24 school year. So that's only an increase of 50 students, but again, it's nice to see the trend starting to tick up compared to the last few years. And then moving to the next page. This is a new table that our office constructed this year that has not previously been included. It's very dense, but very rich as well. So we want to take a little bit of time to go through it. So we call this the in-out model. In the middle of the page where you kind of see ES at the top, that's elementary school. Under the column 2018-19, we see how many residents, elementary school aged residents lived in District 15. So in the 2018-19 school year, 22,093 elementary school aged students lived in District 15. Then moving to last year, the 23-24 school year, 18,395 elementary school aged residents lived in District 15. So that was a 17% decline in just the number of kids that live in District 15. Then all the rows below that folded row tell you where were those kids go. So let's just focus on the 2018-2019 column. That year, as I mentioned, there were approximately 22,000 just elementary school age kids. Of the 22,000, about 1,200 were going to an elementary school just in a different district. Maybe they were going to District 20, maybe they were going to District 13, but about 1,200 were just going to public school in a different district. Below that, we see approximately 300 kids were going to District 75 or District 79 school. Below that, we see about 800 kids were going to charter schools. And below that, about 4,100 kids were going to non-public schools. So maybe a parochial school or other such religious school. So in total, in the 2018-2019 school year, of the 22,000 elementary age residents, approximately 6,500 were not going to a District 15 public school. They were going somewhere else. Okay, now below that, we had all those kids going somewhere else. We also had about 2,200 kids coming into District 15 for school that lived in a different district. So maybe they lived in District 13 or they lived in District 20, but they were coming into District 15 to go to elementary school. Below that, we see 4 kids coming in from an unknown district. Those are just families that probably fill out their paperwork incorrectly, or we couldn't tell where they were coming from, but it was only 4 kids, so we're not going to worry about it. So in total, about 22,288 kids were coming in. So at the top of the column, again, there were 22,000 elementary school aged residents. About 6,500 were not going to a District 15 public school. About 2,200 were coming in from another district. And so that gives us a grand total of 17,856 students in District 15 elementary schools. Okay, I know that was a lot, but I'm gonna keep going. So then, that's what the situation was 5 years ago. So now we're curious, what was the situation this most recent year and how does it compare? Well, again, at the top, under the 2023-24 heading, we see there was about 18,000 just total elementary school residents. That's a decline of 17%. So of that about 18,000, about 1,000 were going to school in a different district. About 300 were going to D75, D79. About 1,100 were going to charters. About 4,100 were going to non-public schools, so like a parochial school or something. For a grand total of 6,667 students not going to their D15 elementary school. But then we had 2,200 kids coming in from a different district, 2 from an unknown district, for this grand total of 2,258 coming in, for a total elementary school enrollment of 13,986 students. And so then in this final column, this percent change, it shows you the difference between the 2018-19 group and the 2023-24 group. So last year, 16%, there's a 16% decline in the number of District 15 students choosing to go to a different district. There was a 2% increase in the number of District 15 students going to D75, D79. There was a 40% increase in the number of District 15 students choosing a charter school And then the number of students choosing a non-public school was obviously pretty stable. And then also was pretty stable, the number of students coming into District 15 from a different district. So obviously, the one thing that kind of jumps out there is the 40% increase of students in District 15 choosing to go to a charter school. But 1,100 is still obviously a pretty small percentage of the overall 18,000 total. Thank you all for bearing with me and listening to all of that. I will not go through the middle school box next to it in such detail for the sake of everyone's time and listening to my voice. But you know, the middle school box shows exactly the same thing, shows how many total middle school age students live in District 15. It shows you how many of them are choosing an option other than a District 15 middle school. Below that, it shows you how many students are coming into District 15 who don't live here to go to a District 15 middle school. And then it shows, it compares 5 years ago to the most recent school year. I'm gonna stop there. Anything else to highlight on this page, Tori? Thank you.
And this is good practice for us. It's a new tool for us as well. But I think our office was especially curious, given what we heard anecdotally and what we were experiencing from the pandemic of just residential change and also neighborhood change with or without the pandemic. And I think something that we have noted as a key takeaway here is that really the residential change at the elementary school level is a huge driver in what we're seeing in enrollment in our schools. That is not actually something that we see in data everywhere across the city. It has really varied. But it's something where, you know, of course, as Chris mentioned, that increase to elementary charter schools is an increase in the past 5 years, but overall, it's really that 17% change in the number of residents that we think is driving the decline in District 15 elementary school enrollment. And then a much more stable picture at the middle school level. And then I will note that this is kind of our best summary chart of movement within the district. In the district data summary, we also have a few different ways that we typically show you all how we think about retention in schools. So there are a few other tables, a few other charts, if you are curious about, you know, maybe specifically looking at the elementary school side, it's actually the same information. So this really does summarize. So there are parts that would have been redundant to include in this deck, but if you have questions, please let us know. Okay, I'm up. All right, 5th to 6th grade articulation. This is not new, so this is actually purely a refresh from what we shared with you all last year. But with 5th to 6th grade articulation, we are looking at a cohort of students as they move from 5th grade in 1 year to 6th grade the next year. So again, we're comparing 5 years ago to last year. So in the first column, 2018 to 2019 to 2019, 2020, this is following students who were enrolled in a District 15 school for 5th grade in the 2018-19 school year to see where did they choose to attend 6th grade the following year. Here you'll see that there were a total of about 2,800 5th graders, and of those, 1,900 chose a District 15 school for 6th grade. About 500 went to a district school in another district. 186 went to a charter school for 6th grade. 140 students went to a non-public school for 6th grade, and about 110 went out of the city. Comparing that, so that was data from 5 years ago to where your 6th graders last year, what choices those families made after 5th grade. You'll see a slightly smaller portion of 5th graders enrolled in a District 15 school for middle school, but still within our margin of error here, so we would say that is stable. There were fewer 5th graders overall. A similar percentage went to district schools in other districts. And again, similar percentages for the other settings as well. But where you saw that decline in middle school residents and middle school enrollment, that is also showing up here, going from 2,800 5th graders 5 years ago to 2,300 in the 22-23 school year. If we go to slide 14. I think we have shared with you all, and it was in our consultation last year as well, that one of just the thresholds that we're using to help understand enrollment and school sustainability citywide is by looking at schools that have total enrollments in the bottom 25% of the city. So we take every school in the city, and that is at every grade level. We have a threshold for what is the bottom quartile of enrollments, so it shifts a little bit each year. I think it has been around 250 students-ish. And then we are just making note of schools that fall in that threshold. We know there are some schools that are designed to be small, but it's a helpful way for us just to think about if there are schools that could use a little extra support. Or if in working with you all and with the superintendent, we identify one of those planning levers to help, support kind of creating healthy and robust enrollments. So in District 15, there are 5 elementary schools and 1 K-8 school with enrollments that fall in that bottom 25% citywide. One, we don't think we really count, and that is PS 958 as they continue to phase in. So they are not at their full scale enrollment just yet. As well as the Red Hook Neighborhood School, which is, reconfiguring their grades from an elementary school to a middle school. So they're not really a K-8, they're just in transition. And then none of the middle schools in District 15 fall into that bottom 25% of enrollment citywide. And I think this is typically a place too where, as if any of you are liaisons for these schools, or if you have kind of any on the ground insights, we're always open to learning more and curious about what's going on. Some of these schools, may also have seen perhaps an increase in the past 1 year. We'll be checking in to see how enrollment shakes out in the new school year as well. And one school that I will note, you'll see PS 295 right in the middle here is an elementary school. 5 years ago, they had almost 400 students. Last year in grades K-5, they had just under 190 students. And this is a school where I think you may be aware that we are actively exploring a potential scenario to merge PS 295 with PS 10. That is something where we do not have a proposal. We are not yet in the A190 process, but we have started engaging with the school leadership teams of those schools. We've had some open community meetings with them as well, just to have preliminary conversations kind of at the school's request to learn more about what might be possible for them. If this is a merger that we decide to pursue, I think we will work with the superintendent and deputy superintendent to have some engagements calendared in the new school year. We'll make sure that you all are aware and invited to attend. We go to page 15. We also highlight the highest demand schools that we're seeing in the district. And here we are looking at demand at kindergarten as well as demand at 6th grade, so those entry grades. And if you look at the far right of each table, it says fall 2024 apps. That does not mean total applications. This is a more specific metric that we use to indicate demand. So these are true applications. So this is the number of applicants who did not receive an offer to a more preferred option. So we think that those are applicants who, if they could have gotten a seat at one of these schools, they would have attended. So it's a better indicator of demand. And that's something we look at across the city as well. Here, some noticings we had, we're talking about zoned elementary schools for the most part, in addition to the Brooklyn New School. We also at the middle school level, we see that all of these schools have many more true applicants than they do 6th grade seats, which I think is good. It speaks to kind of the health of demand and seat options for 6th grade. Something that sometimes comes up is, oh, well, they have so many more true applicants. Why can't we just have more seats available at that school? But I think you all are aware, and we're aware too, of some space constraints. So oftentimes that is why seat targets are set at a specific level. And then, in a district like District 15, we're also thinking through, okay, so maybe if family got their third option and maybe they're perfectly happy with that option, and that is okay. But we do monitor this every year with the Office of Student Enrollment to see if something is changing in a building, maybe we can increase the target. Or if we need to, we can also decrease this target. Okay, we just have, I think, 2 more slides updated to share with you all. Chris, go ahead.
Yes, so on page 16, these are new capacity projects coming to District 15 that are, confirmed, official, in pipeline. We have 2 that are coming online for this coming 2024-2025 school year. We have a new building K654 located at 489 State Street that will have 367 seats. And then this K347 building, PS at 763 President Street. This is the site that will be attached to PS 321, as Tori already mentioned. Grades K and 1 of PS 321 will be moving into that building just so that they have more space, and then the upper grades also have more space back in the primary building. And then some projects, so those are both will be open in September. Some projects we have coming a couple years down the road. There's going to be a new IS at 4002 Fort Hamilton Parkway that is slated to open in September 2026 with 487 seats. We'll have a new educational campus at 519th Street with 96 seats that will open in September 2026.
And that one is actually, this is the Bishop Ford campus, and after the closing of the private early childhood care center, the SCA has taken on this project and they're doing, I think, a gut renovation. So that will be just District 75, but I do think that we are hoping to create a little bit of extra space for the middle school as well on the campus.
And the last firm project that we have at this time is another new IS at 46 Verona Street that will have 557 seats. And that will open in September of 2027, planned to open in September of 2027.
And that will be the home for the Red Hook Neighborhood Schoolers at 76.
So while we do have the new capacity that's coming online over the coming years, we also have approximately 1,000 excess elementary school seats and 800 excess middle school seats in the district. But we know that those aren't always, those seats, they're spread all over the place. And so there are times when we need to build new capacity to address overcrowding or demand, in specific corners of the district. District 15 is a large district, and so sometimes, again, the seats don't always line up where folks are living. So that's why we have excess seats, but we still have new projects that are coming.
And these counts do take into right now the class size loss caps. So in the district data summary, when you're looking at school building utilization, the current blue book that we are using has the new class size law caps in place. So when we're thinking about capacity and excess seats or deficit of seats, we are using the class sizes.
And so page 17 is the final topic that we have to share this evening, which provides data on District 75 need and information on students in temporary housing in District 15. So the top table covers District 75 seat need and capacity. In the first column is elementary school need and capacity. So in District 15, there are 100 seats specifically for students who qualify for District 75 services, but there are 223 residents who qualify for elementary school District 75 services. So that's a deficit of 123 seats. So what that means is there are some students who reside in District 70, who reside in District 15 who qualify for District 75 services, who are likely having to travel to get those services. And so we're always working with District 75 to identify opportunities to increase the capacity. And we know that due to the specific needs of the students who qualify for District 75 services, finding space is not always as straightforward because we need to find space that's accessible and is able to meet the specific needs of the students. So we're always working with District 75, and that sometimes takes more time just, again, to meet the specific needs of the students. At the middle school level, we see we have a capacity of 224 middle school District 75 seats. and only 94 residents who qualify for District 75 middle school seats. So at the middle school level, there's no deficit. And similarly, at the high school level, we have 302 seats for District 75 high school services in District 15 and 129 residents who qualify for high school level District 75 needs. So no deficit at the high school level either. Below that is information on students in temporary housing. So again, at the elementary school level in the district, there's a little over 1,100 students who reside in temporary housing. That's about 7% of the total elementary school population in District 15. And we see that's slightly below both the borough averages and the city average for elementary school age students in temporary housing. And similar story at the middle school level. We see about 7% of total middle school age students in District 15 reside in temporary housing, which is a bit below the borough and the city averages. And then at the high school level, about 9% of District 15 high school students reside in temporary housing, which is just nearly equal to the borough and the city averages.
And I think on the last page, you'll see our all school map, so that includes all of the elementary, middle, and high schools, both district schools, charter schools, as well as pre-K centers.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You wanna-
Yeah, so we'll now move to the question comment period. Let's start with folks who are joining us by Zoom. Is there anybody who has a question and or comment for that great presentation?
You can raise their hand, raise their question.
Raise your hand, put something in the chat.
Yeah.
The chat was turned off.
That's each one question.
Okay.
You can ask if there's questions in
Not just me. Any questions in the interpretation rooms?
I asked the Spanish line. I didn't hear any questions from Spanish line.
Thank you.
Mandarin
No
interpreter
question.
didn't hear anything.
No questions.
No
from
question in
Bangla.
Bangla line as well.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from anybody here in person?
I was just curious to find out how a new school was started in the district, say the one that's gonna be at State Street. In terms of your office,
That's
that's it.
okay. That's a great question. I think there are a few different paths to creating a new school, and maybe Deputy Superintendent Lancelotto can also speak to it. There is a process. So New York City Public Schools, I think, has an office of new schools, where if a superintendent or district has identified a potential leader that has an idea for a new school, then meets a need in a district, they have a logistical process to propose it as an idea. Our office typically comes in when space is involved. So either in a new building like on State Street, or if we have space in an existing building that could be used to open a new school. And then our office is really a connector office. So for example, the new middle school that's opening, that's going to be phasing in and then moving to Port Hamilton. We had a question where the superintendent said, I think dual language makes sense at this school. It's in the heart of Sunset Park. And our office connects kind of all of the parties together with the Office of Multilingual Learners as well to help plan for that school to implement a dual language program as a new school. So it's not kind of a one direct set of steps. There are a few different ways that a new school can come to be. With the new elementary school on State Street, I think there we worked really closely with the District 15 team to think about what type, we knew we had elementary school space. So thinking about what type of school would be best needed and welcome by the community.
So the numbers had anything to do with it? Because I didn't hear you speak to, I heard about a leader being, selected or had a vision for a school, but I'm not sure how the numbers play into that. Was it, or is that something that you consider?
When we're thinking about enrollment, and you heard Chris mention, we have an excess of elementary school seats across the district. But we have certain schools that are overcrowded. With the new school on State Street, one consideration we had that would have been kind of with in partnership with CEC 15 is, should we open a new zoned elementary school here? That would have required a rezoning process to create a new zone carved out of existing zones nearby. But when we looked at schools nearby the State Street location, we thought it might be a great opportunity to create a new elementary school, building on a successful model in the district and having it be an unzoned school so that students could come from all over to attend without directly impacting enrollment at some of those nearby schools. So that's definitely something we take into consideration. It's not a hard yes or no for whether we can open a new school, but we try to minimize the impact, especially if we have an opportunity in an area where there may be some other schools that aren't overcrowded.
And I don't know if you've spoken to Donna Taylor. We can definitely put you in touch. She's from the new school design office, and she works with districts to review proposals. And, she's really the person who communicates with districts and with whoever's interested in submitting a proposal during that application period. I'm not sure if it's still, I don't have the exact timeline in front of me, but I'm happy to connect you to her if you want to have a conversation. She's wonderful and has a lot of information.
Great, thank you.
You had a question?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm reading the stats wrong, but on page 12, like the takeaway that the primary driver was the decrease of residents. In elementary school, the way I read it is in 1819, 29% of residents, like 6,500 out of 22,000, decided to go somewhere else. G7 back charters. And then in 23, 24, I calculated 36, 66 of 18.3. Am I reading that right? Because that would be like a 7% increase in D15 residents deciding to not go to district schools. That's correct, right? 7% more.
I don't know I trust your math.
Well, I mean,
I trust your math. Yeah, no, I totally trust your math. I don't know the percentage, but you are
But
correct.
it makes sense because the
Yeah.
whole is 4,000 or less than 4,000, but and then the out is the same.
Yeah.
So of course it'll be a higher percentage. I believe it's 36.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I totally trust your math. You are correct. If you look at that kind of middle bolded row that says total out, the number has gone up from 2018-19 to 23-24. That number is bigger.
Residents are
Exactly, but yeah, but for us, we're noticing that at the top bolded, the decrease from the 2018-19 residents to the 23-24 residents, that's where the biggest change is. You are correct that there is a large percentage increase in the middle bolded row, but just if looking at just the straight raw numbers, going from 22,000 to 18,000 is just a bigger change than going from 6,500 to 6,600. So that's why for us, the main conclusion is that the biggest driver is the decrease in the number of residents. Anything, Tori, you want to add?
I still see that differently, I think. Still 7% more from like percentages, I feel like can level it out. You know, they're about 30% to 36. We're 29 here. I think, well, I could be totally.
I had the same exact comment. I just think it's a misleading stat. Because the stat on the total out should really be factoring in the reduction in total number of residents over those 5 years. Because otherwise the numbers don't have as much meaning. The fact, because it's, you know, yes, it was a 2% increase if you just look at raw numbers, but that doesn't factor in the fact that there's 4,000 less residents
Right.
at that time.
More people chose.
He agrees.
I guess just to go along, like that first bullet saying primary driver, I mean, that's why I brought it up, because when I read that, I did notice that the percentages were not gonna bear that out. And it depends if you believe that statistically 7% is a lot.
I think-
Everybody-
No, sorry, I didn't think I was.
Yeah. I'm done.
I think to me, like, what I'm noticing here is. It seems like the folks that left over the 5-year period are the folks that choose their District 15 public school, right? Like, because the total number of folks going to other district schools or charter schools or non-public schools, you know. That raw number going from 6,500 to 6,600, that raw number stayed pretty close, you know, only a 2% change. So it seems like the 4,000 folks that left were disproportionately families that were going to choose their District 15 public school. Had those particular 4,000 kids not left, it might have been the case that the District 15 enrollment had remained stable over the last 5 years. That's just my read of the data, but Tori.
I think it's a fair point, especially about this table. I think that we are thinking about kind of the pie and the slice of the pie. So you're right, the slice is bigger because the pie is smaller in the second year. In the district data summary, and I'm sorry, we did not include this one because we're trying out the new table. In the district data summary, we have for both elementary school and for middle school, a page that has this same information, but it includes, I think, a helpful share of residents column, which gets to, I think, what you're getting at. And there you'll see that we have it broken down because we know that the residents changed, and that will look at the data, I think, the way you are both seeing it to say, well, what's the share of residents? Because this share is gonna be greater because there are fewer residents. Like the same number 5 years ago to most recently, but the pie is smaller, so it should be a bigger increase.
The share would be what you, I mean, I don't think we can assume that almost those 4,000 would all be people that would have chosen otherwise anyway. I mean, you'd have to check them.
Well, like, for example, in the in and out model that you have in front of you, we say that this elementary school age residents who are going to private or parochial schools, it's about the same. It's the same 4,000 kids 5 years ago as it was today. When we look at the actual number as the share of residents, that went from 19% of residents to 23%. So that is highlighting a bigger change in students going out to private schools and parochial schools. Now, you're right, it kind of gets lost in this table because we're like, oh, it's the same. 0% change, 4,000 kids kind of are always going to private schools or parochial schools. But in this other chart that we have that does highlight the percent of residents, that is something that would have stood out. That doesn't stand out so much in this table. Similarly for charter schools, that share of residents goes from 4 to 6%. And then the share of elementary school age residents attending District 15 schools went from 70% to 64%. So even though there are fewer residents, there are also fewer residents choosing District 15 elementary schools when we're looking at the share of residents. But this is good feedback, and we should probably. And that's on page 8 of the district data summary.
Page 8?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yep.
On page 14 of the district building summary. I think I'm reading this statistic right that 25% of kids matriculate from 8th grade to 9th grade in district 15 high schools. Is that right?
25% of 8th graders, District 15 8th graders articulate to a District 15 school board. Yeah,
in that particular term.
And it's pretty stable over time, but
Yep.
okay, with 26%. Yep, so when it says other district schools, that 64% of the kids from this district in 8th grade go to other district schools for high school. Is there a set of data about where those students go? That's included in this packet, or can it be shared with us?
It's definitely not in the package.
Like what percentage go to specialized high schools, what percentage go to schools in District 2 or 20, where?
I do believe we have a tool that can help kind of describe where those students are attending 9th grade. And specifically those other districts. So let us work on that. Our data analyst wasn't able to join that, Brian, but we will know that as a data request.
Thank you. We have seen that data. Xi from enrollment has provided that to us in the past, so. We can reach out to them too.
Vanessa? Vanessa, you have any questions?
Yes, I do, but I'm just supposed to, let me,
Come
I
back
don't
to
know
you.
if anyone else has a question.
Antonia?
Yeah, if we could go back to page 14 again. So these are the schools that are in the bottom 25% of enrollment citywide, serving elementary school grades. I want to zero in on the children's school and Maureen said that community school 19. So the children's school has a number of issues. Come to like toxic air, flooding. They will probably continue to experience flooding even after that unfortunate events last year. We know they need a lot of repairs as a result of that flooding.
What part flooded?
Well, I think they got it into the basement, and overflowed the toilets, yeah, cafeteria. Situations.
Yeah, it was in the news. It was very.
Yeah. Now. I think that it's in the data workbook, it's overutilized. But is that because it's a District 75 inclusion tool and they need a lot more space and that's why it's overutilized?
I don't think it has to do with them not having enough space or having an unusual footprint. I think that there is something wrong with how the Blue Book calculates their space and their District 75 DBN. Because you'll see here, like they have their District 15 DBN, they have their District 75 DBN. And every year, something is wrong with how it calculates their utilization.
Okay.
Because it has them way over.
Way over,
Mhm.
but somehow they're under enrolled as well.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if any thought has been given to maybe, is there an opportunity here to merge them into another building that is maybe not going to flood in the future and maybe doesn't have like perhaps 118, which is listed as having very low enrollment as well.
I think
It's very close by.
this,
What an interesting idea.
this as a need is something that we can definitely follow up on. I do know that 118, even though their enrollment was 207 last year, I think the district is working with them. The space in 118 is also unusual.
Okay.
We would have to decrease enrollment overall,
Overall.
like based on the capacity
Right,
of both
but now
schools.
it's like more capacity at 321 because we just gave them a new building and.
Yeah.
Yeah, 118 is an odd, small building.
it's something where we can look into it. I don't know off the top of my head if the 230 kids
Putting-
were.
Putting a bee in the bonnet.
Yeah, I mean, and also if there are any other potential exciting options, let us know. We're happy to look into it. I couldn't say off the top of my head if that would be viable, just based on space.
All right, just something to think about.
Leslie?
We did, I'm sorry, just to add, we did consider, it was part of a conversation at one point, 295 and 118, and when we analyzed, well, that it's not happening, but when we analyze the numbers, just from a numbers perspective and a footprint of 118, it wasn't possible. So I'm just, it's not an impossible idea. I think, we would just have to shrink the numbers of the children's school. I mean, we wouldn't be able to accommodate another 250 or 300 students, but I think it's a conversation worth having.
Leslie? Nancy?
Yes. Back to page 12. So I found the percent change to be like misleading when you look at it, and perhaps that's left out. If you have one student in charter and the next three you have two students, that's a 50% increase. It pops to the eye, but it's still a very, like, these numbers are still quite small, and it seems. I don't find it much. I don't know if there's a different metric that can be used to show that difference.
Thank you for the feedback. At one point, this table did also have colored arrows, and that we found to be really alarming because then you just had a green up arrow. But yes, thank you.
I had a question about the data, but out to non-public schools, do we have an idea what percentage, and does it include, of kids left to private schools because their IEPs needs were not being met? Because I know I was one of those for a very short period of time, and I'm back in public school, because I don't like that private school, but there were many of us, especially during COVID and slightly after. But do we have an idea what that number looks like?
I do not, but I think that's a great question. We'll follow up on it. This is actually, we don't often have reliable non-public school data because we don't own it. So this, right, but this is, but that we do have, but this kind of enrollment figure is something new. So this is the first year we've been able to talk about residents, to have a fuller picture of residents because we have gotten some non-public data. So let me ask our analytics team if we know whether or not those cases are included, and if they are, if we have a percentage.
Like, the goal of this kind of, besides assessing space, will also assess what's going on and why people are making this, like, is that part of this model? Because in that sense, I would consider that data to be important, and thank you for taking that note, but I guess, I guess I have a question overall, just from a personal experience. We look at, you mentioned earlier that this state school opened, and then you said we made it, a non-zone school, so it's not to pull kids from the other schools. And I guess I'm curious, why do we care?
That is a tough question and something, I think as the Office of District Planning, I think New York City Public Schools has really been trying to think about school sustainability there is a tension there, right? Of if we can create an in-demand school, maybe there is some level of survival of the fittest when it comes to schools.
Right.
Where
That's okay.
if they pull, then we have so, but I think that that's something where we know that we have existing schools that families need, that may be offering programming or services to families that we couldn't get if we just opened another zone school in an area where we know there aren't enough zone students to justify multiple schools. I think here, we thought that this strategically was the best model to be at State Street. I think if we had done a rezoning, we probably could have had specific programming that could have pulled students from across the district if they wanted to apply. But I think we really are trying to keep in mind the health of the district as a whole, which includes our existing schools.
So I guess, like, I was trying to reflect it from one school to another. And I felt like I pretty much had to sell my children for an institute, right? And I just feel I didn't. Completely understand, but like, you know, I feel, I was just, the Holland model in other countries, many countries like Holland, is if the school is under-enrolled, then they look at a successful model, they duplicate that in that building. And then the parents can send their kids wherever they want, so you know which schools are under-enrolled because parents would want what that school is offering. And that's not the case in New York City. And I find that really problematic. And, you know, I was able to move my kid because I know what I have to say. I mean, it took me a long time to figure it out, but I figured it out. But, you know, let's look at the Bronx. Let's look at, you know, where parents are working many long hours or not, they don't have time to go to CC. They don't have time to like figure these things out. So we're looking at data, looking at schools that are enrolled, whatever. We're not getting any real data. This is just to say, if this is telling us what parents, families want in a school, I don't feel like the data is like, well, and that's, I don't mean to. Yeah, I don't mean to be rude, I hope I'm not coming.
No, of course not.
It's just like, so when I look at these numbers, I feel like I'm not looking at 100% like real data, if that's the purpose. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. And I like that you guys said in here that you're looking to duplicate good models of schools that are successful, successful models of school that represent what families want. Duplicating this is great. I know we did that with Sendak initially with 321, kind of help bolster that school. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Some years, but and then I guess I had another question here. I'm sorry. There was a school that was developed, and I don't have a page, and it was at Bishop Ford, and you said that, so it's a new school, but there's D75 seats that are needed, and there's a D75 school over there. Why wouldn't we expand the D75 seats? For the, like, that's really important to make sure we can sit this.
At the Bishop Ford campus, there is a district pre-K center, there's a district middle school, and there used to be a private early childhood center. That private early childhood center closed, and we were able to take over their lease. So we will have new space at Bishop Ford that will be just District 75.
It is gonna be, so that number that you're showing us.
Those are District 7.
Right now, that's gonna change significantly based on that.
And District 75 need fluctuates throughout the year. There are some key points in time when District 75 and the Office of Student Enrollment let us know, you know, if we need additional seats. That was a snapshot in time. We did not add District 75 seats this last cycle because that need changed throughout the year and we did not need additional seats in District 15. So it is a moving target. I think that our plan for the Bishop Ford site, I would need to check with District 75. I can't remember if that is going to be a K-5 or a middle
Okay,
school.
I was just going by what I saw here, where there weren't enough seats. For the
Yes.
75. I think that's not accurate.
That was accurate from that snapshot in
Not-
time.
Maybe not.
But as more kids go through the turn 5 process or go through referrals, it's just the need changes.
Just a quick note, I believe math and science is no longer called math and science, am I wrong? It's actually relevant.
Yes, that is correct.
needs to be
We've got
corrected.
change that.
And then I was curious about, I'm sorry. Okay, numbers. And what causes the significant change in need, for the District 75? We have 200, and 23 residency seats in elementary school. We only have 94 in middle school and only 129. Is that like a wildly fluctuating number based on, or do they need after elementary school and those that were, because their needs aren't being met? Like what's why are numbers?
I think that's a great question. We would need to dig into it more.
COVID has a lot to do with it because there was like an 80% fewer number of students participating in early identification programs during COVID because of the sequestering of children. So there was a massive under-identification of kids who received early intervention. So now the early grades are in. Yeah, okay, so it makes sense to me. Can I ask one clarifying question? Thank you. I really appreciate you going down the District 75 road. My question is, so we have 123 seat deficit that could be ameliorated by the new Bishop Ford District 75 service, right? But is 372, the children's school, are they underutilized or overutilized in space? I got confused.
On paper, they are overutilized. I think they're, I don't know, it says 300% or something. It's a lot. It's in the district data summary. But I think that they are properly utilized. I don't think they can add additional seats, and I have not heard from them that what I've heard from the District 75 team and the principal there is that they are okay with the amount of space that they have.
Okay, got it.
So I think if we, for example, did not have Bishop Ford coming online in a couple of years, if we heard from the District 75 office that we needed to add a new section of District 75, then that is something where we would then go to the superintendent and say, we need to identify a building with space to add a new District 75 program. And that would be a proposal to add one.
Got it. Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
Yep.
Sorry, Jane, very good point about this. Examining high school demands, can I help identify model for implementing disturbing students, blah, 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 blah. Is that in finance? Is that something that, is that something that's?
Yes, I mean, this is identifying successful school models to duplicate it
There's
for.
already a process. Thank you. So for high school. For high school. Just for high school.
No, that's
It's
not.
exceptional. I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. And what are you looking at? Are you looking at the thing? I'm looking at the online, which is right. Are you looking at this? No, it just says here.
And it's not just
Page
high school.
17 of the online. Is that generally happening? Is that?
He's talking about one of the chancellor's pillars, to replicate successful models.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Awesome.
I just had one question, about charter schools. So we saw the significant increases you did in charter schools over the 5 years. Do you have the numbers of the number of charter schools in the district and how that has changed over the 5 years?
The change over 5 years, we can get for you. The charter schools in the district are in the district data workbook.
Yeah.
So the spreadsheet that we share with you all, so those are the current ones. And then I will say we don't have any active charter requests for new charters to come in.
But I mean, I just, the numbers may be there and I just missed it, but do you know how much it's changed?
2019, in 2019, they authorized of the last charter that they authorized, that batch, District 15 got 3 of them.
Okay.
And it was like LEAP, another,
Success?
no, no, basis of parental. I'm sorry, LEAP to Rise, Brooklyn Rise, and another Prospect Park Charter, Brooklyn Prospect Charter, they got another.
So
I believe there were 3. And they opened in that 5-year period.
Right.
With new, with
With
new
new-
cohorts
right.
and, yeah, so that
Should account for.
accounts for some of it.
Vanessa?
Do we have any data on the factors that need to leave, public schools, charter schools?
So we don't have any data. I think for that question, we do typically look to superintendents or to school leaders. If a school leader, has had exit conversations with families or just as families are making their choices from 5th grade to 6th grade or what have you, but we don't have any information on kind of why they make those decisions.
Right. To the point that Nancy was making, it would be interesting to know what, needs are not being met in the public school system. And what is driving people to leave, if they remain in the district. Okay, in District 75, as Nancy mentioned, I think somebody else also mentioned that we do have a need of 123 students for District 75. We have 96 seats that are going to be available in 2026.
at one particular location. My concern there is that they're all going to be concentrated in one place that might not serve the needs of people in Redwood or farther north. Are there any thoughts on other places? Where in the near future?
I think that's a good point about the new seats being all in one location. We don't have any kind of active sites that we are assessing for adding District 75. It's something that we think about on an ongoing basis. We also, I'm trying to think with our new capacity coming along, we also, I believe Fort Hamilton will also have District 75 when the middle school opens. So we will have District 75 seats at that site.
How does that fare with the schools that we know are under enrolled? What is the calculation in doing a merger, say, with 295 and 10 versus adding seats from District 75?
So there are a few calculations. One has to do with space. So a typical District 75 program is 8 sections. So normally we give District 75 about 10 classrooms and some admin space. So just thinking about space, we think about where do we have buildings that might have that chunk of space available and the configuration within the space. So, you know, thinking about, is there a wing? Is there a way to create contiguous space for a District 75 program? There aren't a ton of options in District 15. I mean, not even all of the schools in the bottom 25% would have sufficient space for something like that. I think with 295, when we're thinking about, you know, class size law, thinking about the co-located middle school and moving forward, we did not assess for District 75. We assessed the need for potentially ASD programming. And as of right now, the specialized programming office, they are working to support ASD programming with their district level pilots. And they are not doing much expansion beyond that. So District 15 is not one of the pilot districts for ASD programming. So that was something we looked into with 295. That's also another way we're still, as New York City Public Schools, figuring out how, you know, like the inclusion school, how adding certain types of programming could lower the District 75 IEP need in a district. But I would say space is the number one. And working with the District 75 office to make sure that that space, it doesn't have to be fully accessible, but that is obviously the ideal. But we have added District 75 in buildings that are partially accessible. I think those are the key considerations.
That makes sense. Do we know? I know that there's a breakdown for public school students that attend charter schools. Do we know what the breakdown is for that? Public school students that are in temporary housing, I'm sorry. Do we know what the breakdown is with charter schools? It'll be interesting to compare if charter schools are actually in the accepting people in the area.
We don't have it. So I can ask.
And the last thing that I would like to know is if you have like a sort of time frame proposal or template that goes out to figure out what process is like with mergers when we're thinking about the potential merger next year. If options are presented within the proposal, and what does the PEP have to do before the vote comes up to the PEP, and how much involvement they have in the process.
Okay. Are you asking about the timeline if we pursue that merger, what the timeline would be?
Not necessarily, but would the timeline would be put forward at the beginning of the school year so that people kind of know what is happening.
Yes, so I think we will be working with District 15 and with the principals of both schools. You know, shortly to plan for specific engagements in the new school year. I believe what is legally required is for us to reconvene community meetings. And I think we will likely reconvene with the school leadership teams to have staff meetings with representatives from New York City Public Schools HR team, and then post the proposal. When it comes to PEP involvement, and I know that there will be one new Brooklyn PEP member, but typically the two representatives for Brooklyn are briefed by our office, and they typically attend community meetings and certainly the joint public hearing. Beyond that, I think we notify them of proposals as they are being posted, and then, usually at least Justin Lee, who will remain a PEP member, she attends most events. And also I should say that whoever I don't yet know, I'm not sure if they've been appointed yet, but the borough president's representative on the PEP, also the borough president's education liaison is invited to all of our events as well, and I know that they typically brief their PEP member.
That's right. Maybe so, yeah.
But thank you all so much, and thank you for your feedback and your questions and comments. We have our contact information in the deck, and also Shanice and Antonia know how to reach us as well.
Good contact.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, at the very back. Page contact information. Yeah.
We're gonna move on to the superintendent report. Oh, my God. We wanna,
Sorry. Thank you.
sorry.
I have one of those. It's probably yours, right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here.
Excellent. So good evening, everyone. I'm Nicole Manzalato, Deputy Superintendent, filling in for our superintendent. Thank you, district planning. I now understand your question, Nancy, around how are we scaling and sustaining what works? There's so much to say on that, so, I could go into a little bit of a spiel, but to just add a few points. Some of the work we do as a district, specifically around the intervisitations during our principal and our AP conferences, where some of our strongest principals are leading professional development and actually facilitating those conferences monthly, where we visit each other's schools and share best practices. That's one way. We have a teacher leadership series, the curriculum work that we're doing, the mentor program. So really, everything is about building leaders, building capacity, and it's a jargon term, scaling and sustainable works, and every district has to figure out a way to make that make sense. But before that was a pillar, that's always work that we're doing, because we're always looking at research, looking at data, looking to one another, to inspire each other, and to learn about what makes kids excited about learning, like project-based learning, accelerated learning in the district. We want to scale that up. So that's been a big focus around PBL. So I'm just giving you a few examples of kind of maybe what that's looked like. But happy to talk more about that at any point. So very brief agenda. We talked a little bit, you can see on the second slide, Rafael Alvarez, our superintendent, presented on the district priorities. So here's the bullet point list. We're going to continue, every school, every principal designs a micro school improvement plan, where there's an instructional focus and a student group, a marginalized student group that they're looking to close the gap around. So that could be a group of students with IEPs, that could be a group of students in temporary housing, it could be a group of Ls. And every principal with their leadership team conducts this sort of inquiry action plan to close the gap for that particular group of students. So that's still work that we're doing across the district. We're still focusing on project-based learning, foundational literacy, the curriculum rollout, which we're going to talk a lot about this year. Data-wise, and MTSS is still a major focus. We're looking at developing our ICT models across our schools. and consistently closing the gap around chronic absenteeism. We've seen some great successes this year, especially among our Black students. So we're going to continue to look at our most vulnerable groups, and continue to close the gap in that way as well. We have some exciting staffing updates. As you know, we have a new principal at 295. Jean Marie McNeary is the implementing principal. She was the assistant principal at PS Newman 4 in Sunset Park. Catherine Fitzgerald is now the interim acting principal of PS 154. And Layla Rashid has joined our team. And then, as you know, Valerie Vanderpoy has stepped into an assistant principal role at PS 38. So we want to congratulate those folks and just bring you, make you aware of those changes. Next slide, welcome to our team. You see the former principal, Layla Rashid from PS 154. She is now on our team as an instructional achievement coach with a math focus. She has, a Bank Street background. She's really dedicated and smart, and she's been an amazing addition to the team. Zachary Miller is an additional student services manager. So we still have Donna, but now we have 2 student service managers. Since we have middle schools, elementary schools, high schools, we were able to advocate for this additional position, and he has special education. And he is a behavior intervention specialist. So he's going to be working with our schools around supporting students, using restorative justice practices, creating individual plans so that students who are in crisis can remain in classrooms and can get what they need in classrooms. To the greatest extent possible. And he's really an expert in that field. So we're really, really excited that he's joined our team. And then Sammy is a coach, a leader from Central, and we were able to bring her on as an instructional specialist. And some of these changes were due to the shift in the teaching and learning office. You may have heard there was an announcement months ago that there would be additional supports added to district teams. So that's what you're seeing here. That's why you're seeing some of these additional folks. Next slide, that Christine Farrell has moved on, and you may know or may not know that we've hired the parent coordinator from PS1, Michelle Ortiz, as the new family leadership coordinator. So we're super excited about her. She was interviewed by many members on our team and highly recommended by Brenda and Christine and really all the parent coordinators. She's been a leader of PCs, just sort of behind the scenes as a mentor and someone, who's really well respected and cares a lot about kids and families. So we're excited that we're able to promote her and elevate her in her leadership and at the district level. You may know Alicia from MS88. She was a math teacher, 8th grade math teacher and math coach, and she has joined our team. Principal Mitchell wasn't so happy about that because it's a huge loss, but she's of course happy to support, her teachers in developing. Again, so this was an additional position we were given, and it was added to our table of work this year. So we were excited that she applied. We had, about 100 different teacher leaders and folks from the city apply, and so kind of excited about growing from within, like seeing a lot of our District 15 staff members just continue to grow and want to stay in the district and elevate their leadership, and we're excited to support that. We are still looking for an administrative assistant. It is a very difficult position to fill. Kim Lawrence has moved into a school level position close to home. And close to her daughter's school. So we wish her all the best. And the posting is still up for the next 2 days. And we have 8 interviews tomorrow. So if you know anyone, send them our way, or I'll send you the posting for them to apply. Next page, I printed some of these. This is our updated table of organization, just so you have, exactly who's on the team, phone numbers, email addresses. Not 100% finalized. There's still some phones that need to be rewired, but for the most part, we're fully staffed again, with the exception of the administrative assistant. And CEC especially would always feel welcome to reach out to any of our team members. We are accessible, and you can always reach out to us. But our team, we have a great, really smart, dedicated bunch of people who are happy to engage in conversations, provide information, so, don't hesitate to reach out to anyone if you'd like. I'm gonna skip to the next slide because it relates to this parent-facing calendar. So we are excited to announce that District 15 will launch a new website. Yay! It's about time. We certainly need a new website, and this website will connect to an app so that all of the dates, will be in your phone if you choose to do that syncing process. And families have, asked for this, asked for more, communication and just to be able to access information, more easily in a more accessible way. So super excited about that. We'll keep you posted. But here I just linked, and you can, when you have the digital copy, the parent-facing calendar, that is for you. And that just goes right into a Google Calendar, so you can see all of the meetings and events happening this year to kind of just get you started and get you organized. But once the website is released, it'll be even more easy and accessible. Superintendent town halls, next slide. We really are encouraging everyone here and within your networks of schools to please complete this survey. Last year, we decided not to conduct town halls, and this year we have been given feedback that the community would like more access to the superintendent, and one of the ways, we will do that, not having, we don't want to have a town hall every single month. Clearly, the CEC presentations, are also important, and we want to continue to, provide information in this space. But we also want to honor that families are asking for more, so we decided to do 4. One in October, January, April, and June. And we want some feedback and some ideas around topics that you or, families in the school that you're representing may want to see more of. So please do complete that so we can get planning. And that would be great. And obviously, if there's another topic you think would be relevant, half of it would be on the topic and the other half would be a short presentation from the superintendent with time for. And then just a reminder, please, the family income forms are due and schools, are going to begin collecting those. Super important, especially as our schools work really hard to maintain Title I funding and making sure that they hit the 60% threshold. And often it's a percentage or two, right, that can move a school out of receiving Title I. And, unfortunately, this is the reality of the family income forms play a role in this. And so just please, spread the word on this and complete it and let your schools know the importance of that. An exciting event Tuesday, August 27th, at one of our schools, Brooklyn High School of the Arts, College Beyond Fair for high school juniors and seniors. So please promote that. Lots of great colleges and universities will be represented. Lunch will be served from 10 to 1 p.m. Thank you to Principal Vecchiano for making that happen. And then lastly, just sharing all of our flyers and dates for the District 15 events for this coming school year. Thank you for all the CEC support and collaboration, and we look forward to more of that. And if you want to volunteer, if there's, if you're interested in participating in any way behind the scenes or the day of, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Neil Singh, and we're happy to work with you on any of that great stuff. And then the field day, Learning Together Field Day is June 6th. And this is, we talked with the President's Council and CEC about having this be, more of a collaboration. So we wanted you to have that date and flyer so we can hopefully get planning on that together as soon as possible. And that is it. Thank you so much.
So thank you. We'll take any questions or comments from those joining via Zoom. Just raise your hand. Are there any questions or comments on any of the translation lines?
No question in Bangla line.
Thank you.
No question in Spanish line.
Thank you.
No question from Mandarin.
Thank you. Are there any questions from anybody here in person? CEC questions or comments? Gunalda?
I had a question about the illustrative map program. I think we all saw the data, or maybe people did see the data that came out from Green South. Did any of our schools pilot illustrative maps this year? Which schools and what did the data look like by comparison to last year?
So many of our schools have piloted either a grade, a unit, full scale, so it's really kind of all over the place right now. There has not been a full implementation. MSA 8, for example, has implemented IM for the last 3 years. Each school is really in such a different place. I have a chart with where everyone is in the phase and what they've exactly done. Happy to share that with you. So I can't say in one full sweep what everyone's done. We haven't seen, so I will share that.
I guess I'm ready to go. More, like, did our 2 high schools do it?
High School of the Arts did not. They piloted a few units in a grade. 497 did pilot it for the first year, and it's going, 497 will continue to. Yeah,
And
so
then
we
is
are
there
moving.
math data available online, or is that still?
It's still embargoed and we're, waiting for that to be released. It should be released soon. Based on our preliminary analysis, there hasn't been, any correlations between, drops or declines in achievement due to math, to schools who've implemented IM. We haven't seen any connection there. 839. Yeah. I mean, I can go through each one. Everyone is just at such a different. Yes.
So I have my impression.
Yep, 839 just started implementing, not full scale, but certain grades, certain sections, just piloting it.
But if it were like a 5-alarm fire, such as what we saw with that data, we would be aware. Like we as a council would be made aware of a remediation plan, right?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, and we are going to be, this school year, we're focusing on IM, focusing on HMH, and we're focusing on Win Wisdom. So we're going to continue to share the implementation plan by school across the district with the data. The data will be available. And so we'll be able to kind of analyze those trends as we go together. That information will be transparent and shared. Thank you.
Actually. Yes, your question. I have a broad question. How are schools who do project-based learning navigating the implementation of the curriculum?
Our work is not to implement the curriculum and throw away all of the best practices we know work for kids. So we're still a district that's going to focus on project-based learning, inquiry-based learning, student-centered learning. That is not going to change. And when we look at the curriculum, we look for the opportunities where that can be inserted. That's the work that our teachers are doing. We have PDs on it. We have this amazing team of people who facilitate professional development throughout the year. They go into classrooms. We have coaches meeting with teachers and actually looking at the curriculum, having those conversations. So it's a constant conversation to ensure that the exciting work of learning, where kids are passionate, where they're studying topics that they care about, where they're agents of change, where there's interdisciplinary connections, where there's those real world connections. We have our end of year project-based learning showcase, and that's a culminating event after a year-long effort working with teachers and developing curriculum at the school level to bring that work to life. So every year we're adding more units of study, but that's part of the conversation, is looking at the curriculum and figuring out the curriculum is not anti-project-based learning from our perspective. It's about prioritizing that, and it's about ensuring that if it's not available in a particular module, that the teachers in our district team will find those entry points, because there's so much possibility that, the units and the modules are not just about, learning the content and taking an exam. There's project-based learning embedded in the curriculum as well.
And teachers are also creative and innovative and add to that because they know their students and they, you know, they want to personalize the learning. So we encourage that 100%.
Thank you. Specifically, what support is the district giving? Are there professional development calendars that are given?
Yeah,
to the
Happy to
schools?
share that. We have a very robust PD and coaching plan throughout the year.
Okay.
That our team provides, that Central provides, intervisitations. Yeah, happy to share that.
Vanessa, Antonia?
Katina had a couple of questions that she emailed. She can't be here tonight. She wanted to know, how does the district maintain accountability over SCA? The fact that the SCA has 750 million in ADA related contracts that failed to build a ramp to code is disconcerting. And then she has another question that I'll ask, yeah. You want to just?
First, I have questions.
Okay, okay.
About the max again. I've met, so NOV 39 is moving. For doing special studies for math and with that, as a CP, implemented. And so you said there's no real data, like nothing has really shifted much. Are you comparing like regions, like let's say for middle school, who have implemented this, so there's been no shift at all there?
In terms of the data we've seen so far, there's no dramatic decrease or increase one way or the other. It's very,
Just like.
not yet.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And in terms of the social studies, I just have a basic question. I was reading about it. It looks like there is a separate module that is not part of with African American. Is that accurate, with more African American history in
So-
that?
Yeah, so the Office of Teaching and Learning published multiple resources and tools to add to the curriculum. And some of those are on LGBTQ+ history, the African diaspora. So there's a whole, Civics for All office that's worked the last 2-3 years developing these resources for teachers to use in school. So district schools are encouraged. There's no mandate. But there's been training and these booklets and, resources, and the booklets arrive in boxes. That's literally what happens. And so teachers get these resources and, principals and districts are encouraged to figure out ways to integrate so that curriculum is more culturally responsive.
And it does include the actual the curriculum, but the base curriculum includes what I would say the unpopular instructed the history of African American stuff, that's the diaspora and the history.
Yes, the specific African diaspora is a text. It's that was added to ensure that part of the history was more robust.
Yes, okay.
Mhm.
And then, well, I'm this. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nicole.
Leslie? I don't have any either, so Antonia, you want to go back to?
In the interest of time and topic, I'll send you Katina's questions. They're both SCA related.
And if there are specific concerns about individual schools.
Yeah, there
please
are.
Share that.
There are, they're specific to 295 and PS10. And repairs ongoing.
We don't have complete control, authority,
Right.
power over SCA,
Yeah.
but we certainly
No, I
partner with them, meet with them regular and, with DSF as well, school facilities. So we're constantly in conversation and working on projects and advocating, and holding them accountable by showing them to schools. The superintendent and I, over the next 2 weeks are, going to every single building with our open sort of checklist, looking for updates on work that has happened or that is continuing to happen, and just making it known that we're paying attention and we're keeping kind of track of all of the work and pushing in that way, and also meeting some of the deputy facilities directors on site at some of our locations, like Bishop Ford, for example. Right? I mean, I can go on. There's a whole list again of work that's happening across the district, and timelines and some of the work has been delayed, some of the work has happened and gotten done this summer. So if the CEC wants us to, specifically present on
Sure,
the work happening, we're happy to do that
absolutely.
with kind of the updates and where we are.
Great.
But yeah, please send me any specific concerns so I can address those.
I will definitely do that. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, please.
All right, so we just re-update everybody on our vacancies on the council. As you know, Lauren Barkin, our IEP rep, resigned effective July 2nd. And Mamoon Rashid, our multilingual learner rep, resigned July 16th. So last month, we announced 2 vacant seats and began accepting applications. We sent out email blasts to announce vacancy in with flyers in 6 languages. And last Tuesday, we had an evening of interviews. Lauren Barkin, who was the IEP rep, let me just explain what happened to her seat. I explained this back in July. I just want to make sure everybody who has a question about it understands. According to FACE, the next CEC member with the most votes, who is the current parent of a child with an IEP, becomes the IEP rep. And that person was Nancy Randall. So Nancy Randall takes over that IEP seat, and that seat becomes available to a general member. In the case of the multilingual learner seat, we don't have another qualified parent to meet those eligibility requirements, and so that seat is for a multilingual learner parent, and we've only received 1 applicant for that particular seat, and so far 7 for the general seat. We last Tuesday, we were alerted to the fact. No, that was just last Tuesday. Kids came, said she applied. They had never sent us the application. So tonight, I would like to, and I hope you all agree, give Kim an opportunity to sit for a brief interview. So I want to put you on this camera so people just at home can see you. Keisha. Okay. And Lauren, won't you just introduce yourself? Tell us something about yourself and why you're running for this seat in the Education Council.
To prepare something, so bear with me, I'm just gonna read. But first of all, good evening and thank you all for having me here. I am the parent of a rising 4th grade little boy at BNS, PS 146. He has been at the school for 2 years. After many years of myself serving as a New York City public school employee, servant, I was a special ed teacher, a dean of discipline in middle school, an assistant principal in middle school, and a principal of a high school. And I later became a leadership coach through CSA, the supervisor's union, leadership coach and mentor for assistant principals, and so forth. I met my biggest challenge, being a mother. This most important job gave me a new perspective on education. I saw the early stages of learning up close and personal. I used to say, he's in the discovery zone, let him touch, let him move, as long as he's not hurting himself. As he pulled and explored the world around him through his five senses. This made me consider what was really happening in our public school classrooms. Were children given the opportunity to learn through movement, exploration, and discovery? I was faced with the question of where I should place my son to ensure his instinctive desire to learn isn't diminished in the name of standardized education and testing. During my extensive search for a suitable public or private school, I came across the Brooklyn New School. So now you know why I'm here. I have always been, well, now you know why I'm in District 15. But I've always been an advocate for the disenfranchised, from my experience as a special education teacher and dean of discipline in East Flatbush in the early 90s, to my leadership role in Brownsville and East New York, Brooklyn, under the superintendency of former Regent Dr. Cashin. I've always pushed to ensure that there was equity in education for all students. During my tenure as a principal, I paid particular attention to the needs of all children of color and establishing all high expectations for all students. I continue to do so, most recently as an advisor for the Young Black Male Grassroots Initiative in Manhattan, in which we identify frameworks and touch points for students, educators, and community members to ensure that all students have access to post-secondary education. The trajectory of my career was further fueled by my passion to foster ingenuity and creativity amongst school leaders. This led to my passion of mentoring school leaders in New York City. I'm currently a leadership coach and a coach for emotional intelligence. My desire to serve on the CEC is rooted in my zeal to ensure equity in education and awareness of the varying needs of a myriad of students we have in this district. Creativity and ingenuity is essential to the proliferation of our society. Where else should that begin but in our schools? I would like to bring my years of experience in New York City education and my perspective as a parent to this community.
Would you read this timing? We're gonna be 3 minutes per question. We just wanna make sure we don't go on and on and on. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about CEC 15. We're a very active council. We have a minimum of 2 meetings a month. The business meeting and the calendar meeting. Sometimes we do combine those into one meeting, but there can be more meetings. And we have to have a quorum of 7 members who are in attendance in person to take any vote. We spend a lot of our time researching education issues and we write resolutions. We work with our liaison schools to advocate for their needs. So it's a time commitment. How do you see yourself contributing to this council?
As far as time, I'm technically retired, but I'm also an education consultant, so I do have clients that I see. However, I make my own schedule. So what I've done in the past, when I've been on different projects, I would just map out my full day for that particular responsibility, as if it's a job, say Monday is my CEC day, or Tuesday. But once I'm committed, I'm fully committed and I give my time and energy towards whatever I'm doing.
I don't know if the President's Council is on, if anybody from the President's Council is on the call, Elton or Elton came on. Elton, do you want to ask your questions? I've got them. Okay.
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, we're ready for you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for putting yourself forward for the CEC. I just have a question for you about the District 15 work towards diversifying and integrating our schools. What will you, as a CEC representative for our community, bring to the table when it comes to the great disparities that New York City sees and the student population of our schools and the challenges that we have in creating a unified and integrated school system?
Well, I think the most important thing to do is to just serve people. I heard earlier someone asked, why are parents going to charter school? As a principal, I had that question, and as a parent, I had that question. We have to find out what's really the need. And it may be parents of color, it might be Latino parents, it might be parents of that are just concerned about acceptance in the school environment or the social environment. It may be the type of curriculum. So I think we should start with whether it's a survey or just talking with parents, or just hearing what's really happening and what their needs are. And then trying to meet that need. The parent coordinator is key, and I know a lot of schools, including DNS, has an associate or assistant that can meet the needs of parents. I would even go to the after-school staff who would see the parents when they come up after the end of the school day, or whoever's picking up, whether it's grandma, somebody that, there's a lot of ways to get the ear of the parents to find out what's really happening, why they are not coming to a particular school or what their concerns are.
Elton, do you want to ask Liz Sanders' question? Do you have it, or do you want me? I have it in front of me.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm happy to. The second question from the President's Council is inequity is rampant in our schools. Our PTAs and our parent associations are certainly not spared. Some PTAs in more wealthy schools raise $1 million while others raise $500. Is this concerning to you? And what strategies will you employ to engage with and empower parent groups like PTAs and the President's Council?
So yes, of course, it's concerning because what happens is that one school with a parent association that has a lot of money is able to provide resources and programs that another school like 6 blocks away or something wouldn't get. So that is equity at its height, inequity at its height. So what I would suggest for the parent, the bottom line is that families don't make the same amount of money in different areas and they're working to and really. But it's possible for the parent association to look into grants. There's sometimes that there's limitation in terms of how much money schools can receive, but a parents association wouldn't have those limitations. Parent associations can go to private businesses and get donations. Businesses have to write off certain amount of money during tax time. I think there's a myriad of ideas that should be, rushed through and just find out what's possible in that particular area. It's also important to make sure that the parent association president, vice president of the executive board is like a cooking board in terms of ensuring that they have one vision and one idea. Sometimes there's a lot of different ideas happening, but maybe if they just have one vision and one idea, one mission for that particular year and goal, that would help to their efforts in one direction, and then they should be able to be successful.
Elton, do you have any other questions? Okay, all right, so District 15 recently conducted a 5-year evaluation of the District 15 diversity plan. which implemented a series of recommendations for middle schools, including the elimination of screened admissions and the creation of set-asides for priority groups that compare to the district average. How do you feel about the D15 diversity plan, and how would your leadership impact desegregation and DEI instruction in our school?
I feel that it's a good idea to do away with the application process in terms of just zone schools being allowed, zone students being allowed. I feel like there needs to be a component where they add awareness to other communities, and just like information meeting, let them know why they should come, because you can say, hey, our doors are open, but if people don't walk through it, you know, you're still gonna have the same situation. And I would say that we've focused on students, but have we looked at staff? Have we looked at the diversity among staff members? Because sometimes, you know, people of a certain ethnicity may not want their child to just only go to a school where they only see one type of leadership or student or teachers or so forth. So I think it's a good plan. It's in the right direction, but there may be a few things that we can do moving forward.
Give an example of a conflict and how you resolved it.
It's pretty broad. Different conflicts. You know, I've kind of morphed into a different person. There was a time where I was like very confrontational and, you know, spoke out when I felt I needed to. But I feel like now I'm at the point where I kind of want to listen a bit to what people have to say. Maybe even listen in a different setting, a different situation, give it time before I speak. So I can't think of one specific conflict right now. But I know there are times when I'm heated and I pick up a call, you know, pick up the phone and call a friend. So that kind of calms me down. But in a professional setting, I know there are times when you just need to hear people out and try and get their sense of what they're saying and then think about it before you address it.
Great. Are there any questions from the public either here
Yeah.
or online?
So if anybody has a question, who's joining us via Zoom, please raise your hand. Are there any questions on the interpretation lines?
No questions on the Mandarin line. Thank you.
There's no question in Spanish line.
No question in Bangla language as well.
Thank you. No questions?
You want one? I can figure it out.
You always have a question.
Wait, I will, yeah. I just, as an educator, recently kind of retired. Nice to see someone who's in the field and you have a lot to bring. So, not a comment, not a question. So best of luck. I'm glad you got to interview.
Yes. Does any of the members have that?
Ms. Wamos, thank you for being here and thank you for sharing that yourself so thoughtfully and thoroughly. My question would be, if you were to have the opportunity to take the seat of this council, what issues is you most be interested in working on or advocating toward that you think are pressing needs or maybe things that people need a little bit more understanding of?
Well, project-based learning is my baby. When I was at the CSA, I actually, so this is pre-COVID, went to the PB, the workshops and provided workshops for CSA members. And I'm just like really trying to push it in other areas in the city. So that's definitely one of my concerns, and my concern is, as the question for the deputy superintendent was, how do we navigate the requirement from the city, yet allow our children, my son is in that environment where he's learning and exploring and creating, and he hates school because it's a structure, but he doesn't hate school like how I've seen, children, can develop this disdain for this environment where they just have to sit and listen and write, and that's not what we want. That's not what we want to produce long term, right? We want children and people who love learning and enjoy growing. So that's one of my concerns. The other one is the equity issue in terms of students and staff. And I know at 146, there's a constant push to make sure that there's equity among students and staff and just district wide. I hope to work with.
Thank you very much. Oh, yes, sir. So thank you for the answer. I have a question. You said you were dean of discipline at school. So I was just curious, what did you find to be your most effective tool in dealing with kids in crisis?
Talk to them. I got to know the other side of the kids. So I was a special ed teacher, and they promoted me to the conflict resolution coordinator, which was not a title at that time. Because I would just connect with the kids. I was very strict. I was very stern in terms of you have to follow the rules. But one-on-one, I always said, tell me what happened. I never said, why did you do this? But tell me what happened. And they got to express themselves. And many times before they did something bad, they'd come and run to me and tell me, or they, it's about the trust and knowing that there's more to them than that act that they performed. And that there may have been a reason they did it, but it's just making that connection. And that's why the small school environment, an environment like BNS, a school that has the social emotional legs to like support kids who are having difficulty making decisions, like daily decisions, is important long term.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, as you can see, we cannot proceed with a vote on any of the other business items, including this filling this. I do want to ask you. We will probably continue to get more applicants. Should we put a deadline on applications? If we get another applicant tomorrow, are we inviting that person to interview at the next business meeting? Are we going to say, you're not accepting any more applicants after such and such a date? I would like to. Is there guidance from base as far as like how we just have to? No. We could put a deadline announced after such and such a date we're not accepting. I would like to continue to accept the applicants for the multilingual learner seat because we only have one. But given that we have 7 applicants we've already interviewed, can we keep it on? Yes, we can say after, I would like to say after Friday, we're not going to accept any more applicants. That's what I would propose to do.
You mean even in the multilingual?
No.
That's
So we'll leave
Yeah.
that open. I would like to say after Friday, we will not be accepting any more applicants for the general member seats, only for the multilingual learners. Because we have.
Can we, like I often find learners shy Might be retired or very busy, whatever, like, is there a way for us to help push this information out, like, through the principals?
Yeah, since July, I have been emailing principals.
Summer.
Yeah. We got a lot of applicants for the general seat. I mean, you have to understand that the requirements for the multilingual learner seat cuts down your eligible applicants quite a bit, so.
Can I ask one question? I was wondering, I mean, Kim is obviously super qualified.
Yeah, we're on.
We're
We
on.
shouldn't be having a conversation about specific candidates.
I was just wondering about eligibility
Oh,
question.
okay.
Because Hans, his children go to the same school.
Oh, the
that-
same school rule does not apply in an appoint.
That's what I was wondering. That was my only, yeah.
When you're.
I just wasn't sure, because I know that
That's
was
for the election.
for filling a vacancy.
Yeah. Right, we're filling a vacancy, but
I just wanted to,
yeah.
with everything we went through last time, with
Yeah,
eligibility, I didn't want to
Yeah,
have
that-
any.
Yes. That does not.
Okay.
Okay, good night. Good night. Good night. So if I send out a message to the public saying after Friday, we're not accepting applications for the general seat, but we'll continue to accept applications for the multilingual learner seat, that is okay, no? What do you think?
I'm just worried that it could be construed in a way that.
It's a foregone conclusion that we've already made some sort of decision on the other thing.
Yes.
We're gonna have to continue to interview people.
Would that help? It feels like if we were to say a week after school starts, we were accepting no more applications.
Or both.
Then that would be.
Our next meeting is
The
the first Tuesday
Tuesday.
after school starts, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, so hopefully hold the vote.
So maybe if we
Yeah,
just say applications must be
In
in
before.
by the sixth, that Friday.
But you're not gonna run another interview for them.
I will
no, by
have
the
to.
ninth.
We will
Why not the
have to
30th?
hold
That meeting.
Or the 30th.
30th.
I don't know, I just didn't want to make it about one seat, not the other, because I
Yeah.
didn't want any, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
Okay, so.
Yeah.
But I wonder
Right.
if, I'm kind of thinking about like the school starting, people are back, like maybe it gives them 2 days and we say like they have to be in by.
but would FACE be able to vet all those people by the Tuesday meetings? And let them know that they should
I
be
have no
joining
idea.
us?
I have no idea how,
to
long.
interview.
Not necessarily, no.
Because then that would then push it to the next meeting.
No, if like we don't get their application, we don't get their application. Like, we can only work with what we receive.
And if we don't get, I think that if we set a deadline to apply, that's outside of whatever FACE does. Like if they apply by the deadline we give them and FACE doesn't get us that application, that is not a applicant. No, that's what happens. Yeah.
We can set a deadline. I just need you guys to agree on what that.
Given how things can go wrong, with all best intentions. I personally think people are already gonna be coming back from their vacations before school starts and kind of reading their email and getting geared up. Maybe like a week before our meeting, that's
Which
it.
meeting?
Which gives.
With business meeting?
You mean by the
By-
second?
By the day after Labor Day?
Yeah,
Week before.
so that'd be the third.
We can
Somebody
look.
If you think that's enough time for FACE to vet people.
Yes.
And that
I
gives
wouldn't
them a
wanna
week.
cut it tight.
We just have to
So
let
give
them
the
know.
window they need.
Yeah.
No, I think they can vet people in a couple of days usually, but you know.
And then we'll plan to do the interviews at the next business meeting and then vote.
So the deadline's the 3rd. The deadline is the 3rd for
For both.
both.
For both.
For both. For both. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to quickly adjourn this calendar meeting. I do wanna just go into. I'll take it back. I'm going to adjourn the calendar meeting. We cannot proceed with that business. Adjourn at 8:50. I'm gonna open up the business meeting at 8:50. Quick roll call. Sorry to do this, but it works. Okay, is that at the time we started with the, right, ready? Yeah. Roll call. Yeah. Councilmember Antonio Ferraro. Present. Councilmember Leslie King. Councilmember Vanessa Gonzalez. Councilmember Nancy Booth present. Councilmember Denal Chumney. Councilmember Nancy Randall is absent. Councilmember Hudson Ayeta is absent. Councilmember Danny Vidal. It's not present. Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Tina Larkin is present. She's absent. So that is everyone, and we do not have a quorum. Great. We do not have a quorum. We can't vote on minutes. I do want to give my updates just so that I've given them. We have a new face liaison. That face liaison is Anthony Aguilar. We had some PC interviews, parent coordinator interviews over the summer. In mid-July, July 15th, Hans, Katina and I interviewed parent coordinator candidates for 15K 456. Which is the new PBL elementary school. I call it 80 Flatbush. We also interviewed somebody for 146, the Brooklyn New School, and 428, the new dual language middle school. Everybody seems lovely. In these interviews, you don't get a choice. You just get to interview them and ask some questions. In the case of 456, they were sort of, the person had a lot of experience. They were a paraprofessional and a restorative justice coordinator, and they were employed by the DOE since 2016. In the case of the Brooklyn New School, they were sort of hiring from within. The person had already been at ENS since 2008 in various roles. And in the case of the new dual language middle school, they selected somebody who was fluent in Cantonese and Spanish. So it seems like they were really meeting their needs. I know Jonathan participated in a parent coordinator interview at his school at PS 230. Her name, I don't know, this Uma Kasham. She had also been an employee at 230.
She interned.
She interned, okay. All right, I attended the Supporting Complete Student Safety 6-hour event on August 6th. It was a DOE UFT sort of joint event held at UFT headquarters. The chancellor was there, Mark Ramperson, DOE, NYPD. They spoke about illegal cannabis, fentanyl, human and labor trafficking, gangs, subway surfing, and water safety. And they are available to present at schools and PTA meetings, reach out to FACE for information if your school wants to talk about some of these issues. We have a brief update for PS 372. The DEC, or Department of Environmental Conservation, and the Department of Health are going to hold community availability session Thursday, September 19th, 7 p.m. in the Children's School Gym, where you can learn about the Gowanus Canal area-wide soil vapor intrusion investigation. I happen to live in the zone of vapor, so I may be attending this, this event so that I can understand more about what's going on. I'm gonna put a link in the chat to, people at home if you want to attend that meeting.
You said September 19th at 7 p.m.
September 19th, 7 p.m. at PS 372 in the gym, which is 215 Bush Street. I'm going to allow Katina to give an update on PS 15 when she comes next. My understanding is the whole project is on a better path than it was. But she will talk more about that. Tomorrow evening, the IBO is having budget office hours. They do this every month. It's a virtual office hour for any community member to drop in and ask questions related to their school budget. I'm going to share that link in the chat. Camp Friendship School Supply Drive. The offices of council members Shahana Hanif, State Senator Andrew Bernardis, and Assembly Member Johan Simon are accepting donations from now through August 23rd for the Camp Friendship School Supply Drive. I will also put a link in the chat for that. Okay. AQE Education Warriors. They, AQE is accepting applications for the Education Warriors program. If you're interested in deepening your skills as an education justice advocate and parent leader, consider applying to the Education Warrior program. It's an 8 to 10 session community skills building series. Participants will learn about statewide policies that affect education and the political landscape. Let me put the link in the chat for that. Okay, that concludes my updates. I do want to just do one more thing. We can't vote on anything, but I want to talk to you about the calendar. I'll talk to you about the calendar real quick. We cannot vote on these dates, but we can, and we will have to. You're gonna get an email from me with this. Please respond to the email and say whether you need 7 of us to just confirm this is that you're okay with these dates. Let's go through them now. September 10th is the business meeting. September 24th is the calendar meeting. October 8th, business meeting, October 22nd. 22nd is calendar meeting, those conform to bylaws. I am proposing that in November and December, we combine business and calendar meetings. November 19th would be the date, and December 10th will be the date. In January, there was a proposal to combine January's business and calendar meeting. And as much as I would love to do that, last year, we had to vote on the SCA capital plan. And the deadline for the SCA capital plan proposal is always that second Friday in January. And if we don't have like a business, I know how it's gonna go. If we don't have a business meeting that first week back, that we're back from the holidays, we're never gonna ratify our top 5 projects for SEA. So I'm proposing that we keep that January 7th business meeting, and I'm proposing that we also keep the January 28th calendar meeting, because SCA has to present. They always have to present somewhere in that time frame, and I'd rather just have it on the schedule than say, hey, guys, we have to schedule a special session. I would rather have it baked into the schedule. The rest of these dates in February, March, April, May, June, May conform with the bylaws. The 2 dates in June don't conform with the bylaws. The last date, June 17th, that's the only date that doesn't conform with the bylaws. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I do think we need 2 meetings in June, because we need to do the campaign for, contracts for excellence. And there will be a new slate of CEC members that we need to introduce the role to. So I think that we need. So, please respond to my email, about these dates. And, we can't do anything else, so. Thank you so much. I'm gonna adjourn this meeting at 9:02. We're gonna say, yeah, really even, yeah.
The department was till 9 and I gotta go, I can't stay.
Okay.
And I can't leave until you guys are out the building.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, well done.
Woohoo.
Great job.
They were fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's check up.